Shalom, shalom. We'll just make sure the sound is good. Salaki, just bear with me real quick, family. So first and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, Bashim Kakadash. Double honors to the other apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who rule well and teach well through the Spirit. The one that they can continue to endure and be sincere in the same spirit. Shalom to Akwakim, believers of this faith and this truth. The one that they continue to pursue their life, which is being a loving and silent and virtuous wife. Lord willing, the Most have mercy on the other brothers and sisters that's not in the faith. This is really a recap of camp. We didn't fully go into all the precepts. So Lord willing, with this live, those that watch it later on can be edified, to be edified. So let's get into it. Some scriptures I'm going to put on the screen and some of them I'm going to read behind the scene. Just so the computer doesn't freeze. Okay. So this is Hebrews chapter 5 in verse 11 to 14 in the NLT, and it reads, "There is much more we would like to say about this, but it is difficult to explain, especially since you are spiritually dull and don't seem to listen. You have been believers so long now that you ought to be teaching others. Instead, you need someone to teach you again the basic things about the Most High's word. You are like babies who need milk and cannot eat solid food. For someone who lives on milk is still an infant and doesn't know how to do what is right." Now, before we keep going, coming in this thing, you must be taught again, the basic things about the Most High's word. Now, of course, a lot of us, we go into the law to establish the promise, the oath, the covenant, and the law, and the everlasting covenant. But even more, especially in this time, we bring Jake to knowing the name of the Lord, faith in Yahweh Shai, right? How to be an Israelite inwardly, right? Being circumcised in the heart, but learning is an everyday thing, right? It says, for someone who lives on milk is still an infant and doesn't know how to do what is right. Solid food is for those who are mature, who through training have the skill to recognize the difference between right and wrong, right? And that solid food is that meat. because after you're weaned from the milk, right? Weaned from the basics, you start to grow teeth, start to be able to walk, start to be able to run, you know, and that all stems from uh, the house of learning. Let me see if I can get this other Bible app. If my laptop do not freeze. Uh, so like, so I'm gonna get Sirach chapter 51 and Apocrypha. And I'm gonna get verse 23. This is Sirach, Ecclesiasticus, chapter 51 and verse 23. For first she have Salaki. Salaki. So Sirach chapter 51 and verse 23, Salaki for that. It says, draw near unto me, you unlearned, and dwell in the house of learning. House of learning ties to wisdom, instruction, fear of Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai. The house of learning is wisdom, knowledge, understanding. The house of learning is this temple, which is this truth. This truth is the house of learning, where men and women, Israelite men, women, and children are going to come back to the knowledge of Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai. So when we go to Proverbs, the 9th chapter, verse 1. It says, wisdom has builded her house. She have hewn out her 7 pillars. 7, means completion. But buildeth her house. House is structured on learning, discipline, and spiritual growth. And this house goes back to this spiritual house. Let me see if and again, it's a lucky for the lag on the computer. First Peter 2 and 5, it says, ye also, as lively stones, are built up a spiritual house, a holy priesthood, to offer up spiritual sacrifices, acceptable to the Most High by Yahushua Mashiach. Right? This is a spiritual house. This is a spiritual temple. Right? That Yahushua built it on the foundations of the apostles, the prophets, the evangelists, and the teachers, and Yahushua himself being the chief cornerstone. So we go to Psalms 27 and 4. Psalms 27 and 4. One thing have I desired of Yahweh, that will I seek after, that I may dwell in the house of Yahweh all the days of my life, to behold the beauty of Yahweh and to inquire of his temple, right? What is the house of the Lord? A place of learning, prayer, worship, deep understanding, right? This ministry is a place of learning. Like Apostle Tahar, Apostle Kabar, especially Apostle Tahar, he always pushing, especially if you have the wisdom, knowledge, understanding, and you have the ability of teaching, you should be teaching, right? Because sheep is coming in this truth every day. Then you have some sheep that been in here for a minute that's still learning, right? I'm still learning. I'm a student. So it's all by the power of Yahweh Shem Shai that the men that are teachers or leaders in this thing is constantly feeding. Because how is this the place of learning if nobody is teaching, right? Let's go into Luke, the second chapter, verse 46 to 47, going into Yahweh Shai. This is Luke chapter 2, verse 46 to 47. I'll read verse 45. It says, and when they found him not, they turned back again to Jerusalem seeking him, because Mary and Joseph was looking for Yahweh Shai, right? They were going to Jerusalem to do the Passover. And it came to pass that after 3 days they found him in the temple, sitting in the midst of the doctors of the law, both hearing them and asking them questions. And all they that heard him were astonished at his understanding and answers, right? And guess what? The whole point is this: a 12-year-old Hamashiach Yahushai went to the temple, sitting in the midst of doctors of the law, asking and answering questions. That goes back to Psalms 27 and 4, right? This is a house of learning, a place of learning. Sirach 51 and 23. He went to the house of learning. And it's not the building itself, because this is a spiritual house. It's really the doctors of the law is where he was getting the learning from, because the building can't teach us nothing. It's the people that move or that teach, that lead in that building, right? And this is why even when the Lord said, he doesn't dwell in temples made with hands, the Lord dwells within us, So let's get 1 John. First John 2. This is 1 John chapter 2 and verse 6. He that saith he abideth in him ought himself also so to walk, even as he walked. And what we just read in Luke chapter 2 verse 46, especially as men, we should be walking like Yahweh Shai, right? Yahweh Shai was a servant of servants. He came down lesser than the angels as a man, to be a servant for us. He was serving us. Look what he did to the apostles. He was washing their feet. He said we had to do what he did, not literally washing each other's feet, but again, especially for you men, to be looking out for the sheep, loving your brother as yourself, So we're gonna go to First Chronicles. Go into some history. Because again, this is going back into the basics. So now we understand that you got to be taught over again. So this is a key point, especially for Christians and all of us. Even if you know this, you want to seek this in to understand when brothers is defending this truth, saying the scriptures, everything pertaining to salvation is only for the Israelites. First Chronicles, the 16th chapter, verse 11. Seek Yahweh in his strength, seek his face continually, going in Daraj, and it means to investigate. Verse 12, remember his marvelous works that he hath done, his wonders and the judgments of his mouth. O ye seed of Israel, his servant, ye children of Jacob, and his chosen ones. He is Yahweh our power. His judgments are in all the earth. Be ye mindful always of his covenant, the word which he have commanded to 1,000 generations. So we got to be mindful, basically, to remember always his covenant. So that means you got to go back in the scriptures to understand what is the covenant he made, what happened with our forefathers, even of the covenant which he made with Abraham, and of his oath unto Isaac, and have confirmed the same to Jacob for a law, and to Israel an everlasting covenant, saying unto thee, I will give the land of Canaan the lot of your inheritance. So, to back in the basics, going into the history, this all pertains dealing with, to understand this is for us, right? The covenant, the oath, the law, the everlasting covenant, right? And to know the inheritance he have given these children, which is your land. The land is the lot of our inheritance. All these things, the covenant, the oath, right? The law, the everlasting covenant. This is all pertaining to the inheritance of the children of Israel, right? Through the chosen bloodline. Let's get Genesis chapter 12. Going back into some more history and basic information that we need to hearken on. Because it said, be mindful to remember, right? This is Genesis 12 and 1. Now Yahweh has said unto Abraham, get thee out of thy country and from thy kindred and from thy father's house unto a land that I will show thee. We just read what that was, that land in First Chronicles 16:18, the land of Canaan. And I will make of thee a great nation, and I will bless thee and make thy name great, and thou shalt be a blessing. And I will bless them that bless thee, and curse him that curseth thee. And in thee shall all the families of the earth be blessed. Why is that? Because Israel eventually is going to be scattered in all nations. The nations is blessed because the children of Israel is sprouting out of all nations, right? It says, so Abraham departed as Yahweh has spoken. And guess what? All nations don't come out of Adam. So using this, saying the Hamites, the Japhites, that they are not descendants through out of Abraham's loins. You know, Ishmael is too. But guess what? This is dealing with the children of Israel. You know, the multiple nations benefit even more when the children of Israel was their servants, their slaves, right? Egypt, Babylon, Persian Medes, the Greek captivity, the Roman captivity, even America. Each captivity that the children of Israelite is at, like we're great at being slaves, man. Great at being slaves, man. When you look at America, we're the top consumers in the earth. We're the top consumers in America, but throughout the earth, we are, right? We're just saying in that point, verse 4. So Abraham departed as Yahweh had spoken unto him, and Lot went with him. And Abraham was 75 years old when he departed out of Haran. So this right here shows obedience. Abraham was all the way in the land of Ur, near Mesopotamia. He left his land and his family to come to this land that the Heavenly Father was going to give him and his descendants. Verse 5. And Abraham took Sarai his wife, and Lot his brother's son, and all their substance that they had gathered, and the souls that they had gotten in Haran. They went forth to go into the land of Canaan, and into the land of Canaan they came. This is another thing when we talk about salvation. The Israelites is going back to their land. This land wasn't given to everybody. And the wickedness of the Hamites, it even caused them to get kicked out their dang land, you know. But really, it was all meant for the children of Israel to have that land. right? So let's keep on going with this one. And let's go to verse 9 to 11. And it says, and Abraham journeyed going on still towards the south. And there was a famine in the land. And Abraham went down into Egypt to sojourn there, for the famine was grievous in the land. And it came to pass when he was come near into Egypt. Salaki family, Salaki. I'm getting a little too excited. Right? And when you look at when Abraham left from the country where he was at, what does that line up with? Proverbs 20:24, Proverbs 16:9. Man's going to the Lord. How can a man understand his own way? And then Proverbs 16:9. A man heart deviseth his ways, but Yahweh directeth his steps. This is Genesis 22, verse 1 and 2. Salaki, for the other precept. I didn't want that. Genesis 22, 1 and 2, it says, and it came to pass after these things that the Most High did tempt Abraham and said unto him, Abraham. And he said, behold, here I am. And he said, take now thy son, thy only son, Isaac, whom thou lovest, and get thee into the land of Moriah, and offer him there for a burnt offering upon one of the mountains, which I will tell thee of. Now, technically, this is all symbolic to Yahushua. He's telling him, sacrifice your son, right? So whom thou lovest, get thee into my. He said, offer him up for a burnt offering. Let's drop down to verse 9 and 11. This is what I truly wanted. Now, Genesis 12:9 to 11. Genesis 22:9 to 11, it says, and they came to the place which the Most High had told him of. And Abraham built an altar there, and laid the wood in order, and bound Isaac his son, and laid him on the altar upon the wood. And Abraham stretched forth his hand, and took the knife to slay his son. And the angel of Yahweh called unto him out of heaven and said, Abraham, Abraham. And he said, here I am. And he said, lay not thy hand upon the lad, neither do thou anything do anything unto him. For now I know that thou fearest the Most High, seeing thou hast not withheld thy son, thy only son, from me. And even though, Abraham feared the Lord, but this is how we know he had faith, right? Abraham feared Yahweh Shai, but this shows he had faith in the Lord. But what do I mean? He had faith, right? Let's actually go. Let me go to this real quick before we go to Hebrews. Now, remember Abraham, but let me get this real quick, right? Because, of course, from Apostle Tahar on down, and me and my brothers, we always say this is a faith-based ministry. Faith was already pushed in your past life. So let's get to understanding. Romans 15:4. For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning, that we through patience and comfort of the scriptures might have hope. So going back into the basics, going into the law, going into Psalms, going into the history from First Samuel, from Joshua all the way to Second Chronicles, going into the prophets. Those things were written for your learning, from First Ezra to Second Maccabees. That was written for your learning. From Matthew to Revelation, that was all for your learning. Why? What we read in the beginning, Hebrews 5:11 and 4, that you should be taught again. We were without this knowledge for 350 years, And even the brother on TikTok that was on live with this sister, where she said, I'm good in my understanding in the Lord, because she kept saying Jesus and hibbity hoobla, but don't understand that we have to be taught over again. People think because they get a cold feeling and my life changed ever since I heard that. How your life changed? Now for you, your life on this side changed, but your understanding never changed. Like it never got builded into the correct understanding. Like people that's in Christianity, from your understanding, why are Black Latinos and natives in America? A lot of them is not going to say because this was their captivity. A lot of them not going to say Daniel the 7th chapter, verse 18 had to be fulfilled, the little horn, you know, because they're not taught correctly. We must be taught again. And that's what these scriptures was for our learning. Now, continuing on with this information, let's go to Hebrews, the 11th chapter, and we're going to read verse 8 and 9. This is Hebrews 11 and 8. It says, by faith, Abraham, when he was called to go out into a place which he should, after receive for inheritance, obeyed, and he went out not knowing whither he went. By faith, he sojourned in a land of promise, as in a strange country, dwelling in the tabernacles with Isaac and Jacob, the heirs with him of the same promise. Right? And there we go. We see inheritance. And he obeyed. Right? You got to bow down to the Lord, which goes into pray. You got to obey him. And you got to confess his name. Abraham obeyed the Lord when he told him to leave from his country, to leave from where his fathers was, or where he was born from, in the land of Ur. We read that in Genesis, the 12th chapter. And it said, by faith, right? By faith, he sojourned in the land of promise. He believed, like, oh, the Lord said this is the land. The Lord said, do this. That's how we have to be as children to Yahweh Shem Shai. Just like our children. You tell your child to do this and do that. Okay, Father. Okay, Mom. We're supposed to be obedient, obey, do what Yahweh Shem Shai tell us to do. Abraham is the example, right? The true children of Abraham is those of the faith, that have faith, that obey Yahweh Shem Shai. This is Hebrews 11, verse 17 and 18. By faith, Abraham, when he was tried, offered up Isaac, and he that had received the promises offered up his only begotten son, of whom it was said that in Isaac shall thy seed be called. Right? By faith. What did he do? He was about to sacrifice, kill his son for the Lord. Right? That's like, we got to look at ourselves. How far are you willing to go for Yahweh Shem Shai? 19, it says, accounting that the Most High was able to raise him up, even from the dead, from whence also he received him in a figure. Right? Abraham believed that the Lord can raise Isaac from the dead. Right? Let's even read this in a more plain English. Let's see what it says in the NLT. Abraham reasoned that if Isaac died, the Most High was able to bring him back to life again. And in a sense, Abraham did receive his son back from the dead. Come on, man. That is amazing, man. That is amazing. He believed that Yahweh can bring Isaac back from the dead. That's what he did. He was willing to put his son right in the spirit world. Oh, you want me to kill my son? All right, Yahweh Shem Shai, I do it. Now, I just want to go to the NLT real quick, because we're about to read Hebrews, the 10th chapter, verse 19 to 25, because we want to continue to speak on hold fast the faith, and going back into the basics. If we just seen Abraham had faith, then when we speak about Yahweh Shai, you hear about faith. Faith is the point of this ministry. Without faith, it's impossible to please the Lord, man. Impossible. So this is Hebrews chapter 10, verse 19 in the NLT. It says, and so, dear brothers and sisters, we can boldly enter heaven's most holy place because of the blood of Yahweh Shai. You got to have faith to believe in this. By his death, Yahweh Shai opened a new life, giving a way through the curtain into the most holy place. And since we have a great high priest who rules over the Most High's house, we already went to, what is the house? The house of learning. The house is this temple, spiritual temple, right? Which is the elect, the believers. It says, let us go right into the presence of the Most High with sincere hearts, with a sincere mind, fully trusting in him. Come on, trusting in him is you having faith in him, right? For our guilty conscience have been sprinkled with Hamashiach's blood to make us clean, and through and our bodies have been washed with pure water. What is that pure water? Wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, right? He says it in St. John 7, verse 28, out of your belly is going to flow ever living water. The next verse, he spake of the Rakak Wadash, the Holy Spirit, right? That pure water is the Rakak Wadash, wisdom, knowledge, understanding. Let us hold tightly without wavering to the hope we have firm, for the Most High can be trusted to keep his promise. There we go. What promise? The promise to Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and the 12 tribes of Israel. What promise did he truly make with the other nations? Right? What other nation made a sacrifice unto the Lord? Let us think of ways to motivate one another to acts of love and good works. And let us not neglect our meeting together, as some people do, but encourage one another, especially now that the day of his return is drawing near. This is what lessons is about. To encourage the sheep, continue to move. You encouraging your house, your wife, your wives, your children. Believe in Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. Say his name. Think upon his words. Think on this lesson. Ask questions. Guess what? Those of the faith is going to continue to do it. Right? So, let me flip this back over to the KJV. Salaki. So our bodies washed with pure water. Ephesians 5:26. How are you washed? By the word. Right? We're washed by the word. Now, when you really break it down, there's wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Right? That water is wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. I know it's not going to give me the understanding of water, I don't think, in the interlinear. But if you go to 2nd Esdras, the 14th chapter, verse 47, you'll understand that water is wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Let me see. Let me just see. Yeah, it's not giving it, but I can give you this one. St. John 7:38. This is going to make it even plain for us. What is that water? St. John 7:38. And he that believeth on me, as the scriptures have said, out of his belly shall flow rivers of living water. But this spake he of the Spirit. So when he was talking about what's going to flow out of your belly, living water, that is the Spirit. The Spirit is going to flow, right? Which they that believe on him shall receive the Rakak Wadash, For the Rakakwadash was not yet given because Yahushua was not yet glorified. When you go to Wisdom of Solomon, the 7th chapter, I believe verse 24, it says, wisdom is a moving motion, right? And that's what's flowing through us, right? You got another one just to make sure this is making sense for the sheep, right? We're gonna get Ephesians 5 and 26. Going back to baptism. Baptism was really to be a reflection of Yahushua. And to be truly baptized is to be washed. And what is that? Ephesians 5 and 26, that he might sanctify, purify, cleanse, and cleanse it with the washing of water by the word. And this is what we do when we go back into the basics. We're constantly washing our mind, cleansing it. And of course, we're trying to sharpen our mind with the understanding of the Lord to grow in faith, right? And we're being cleansed from sin. We're being cleansed from things and ways of this world, right? Because the things that we learn, you be like, wait, hold on, that. And the more you grow, the more your care for this world starts to diminish, right? Let's get another one. Let's get St. John, the 15th chapter. St. John 15:3. Now ye are clean through the word which I have spoken unto you, right? We were clean through the word. And he was speaking about the word he'd been teaching the 12 disciples, right? Because now they had grown in the understanding of Hamashiach Yahushua, even giving more clarity to what the law, the Psalms, and the prophets was saying pertaining him, right? Let's get Isaiah 55 and 1. Isaiah 55 and 1. Oh, everyone that thirsteth, come ye to the waters, that he that have no money, come ye, buy and eat. Yeah, come, buy wine and milk without money and without price, right? Buy the truth and sell it not. And we get this spiritual knowledge for free. We get it free. This is the mercy by the Lord. This is favor. Now, another thing, even though multiple people have a Bible, if you got a Bible with no understanding, the Lord haven't supped with you, you know. But for the Lord to sup with you is where you're growing in understanding, you know. So we're buying this truth without money because this word is heavenly ordained, heavenly given. It was established in the heavens, right? Let's get St. John 4 and 10. This is St. John chapter 4, verse 10. It says, Yahushai, or Salaki. It says, Yahushai answered and said unto her, if thou knewest the gift of the Most High, and who it is that saith to thee, give me to drink, thou wouldst have asked of him, and he would have given thee living water. What's living? Wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Because if it comes from on high, it's living, right? It says, the woman saith unto him, Sir, thou hast nothing to draw with, and the well is deep. From whence then hast thou that living water? How you got this living water? Right? It says, art thou greater than our father Jacob, which gave us the well and drank thereof himself and his children and his cattle? Yahushua answered and said unto her, whosoever drinketh of this water shall thirst again, but whosoever drinketh of the water that I shall give him shall never thirst. But the water that I shall give him shall be in him a well of water, springing up into everlasting life. The water is wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. right? To truly know your history, to truly know what the heck is going on. Who really knows what's going on in the Christian church? Muslim, right? Islam, I mean, Hinduism. And I'm only speaking on behalf of Jake. Jake is cleaving to all these other beliefs, but don't fully got understanding on the Bible, right? To show that how real this is and how all those other things don't give you information on why why is all the black Latinos and natives in captivity? Why is Esau ruling it? What did they do? Well, why was the other nations created? The Bible tell us, right? But the Lord is sending out the men of the Lord to give you the understanding. The Lord is He amazing. Instead of you trying to master it yourself, He sent out prophets for you to actually understand what's going on. Proverbs 18:4. The words of a man's mouth are as deep waters, in the wellspring of wisdom as a flowing brook. Wisdom and words of truth are compared to flowing water. Wisdom of Solomon said it in Wisdom of Solomon, the 9th chapter, verse 6. Without thy wisdom, we are regarded as nothing. Without the Most High is given wisdom from the heavens, you are nothing. But so Wisdom of Solomon 10:21, the wisdom of the Most High makes the dumb eloquent. I'm not trying to be eloquent. I'm not trying to sound like I got wisdom and knowledge, but it's all through the scriptures of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. Brothers are able to sound educated. I didn't go get a top degree. I wasn't the smartest person in school. The Lord is allowing me to sound uh, um, like I'm educated, that I went to this school. No, it's all going back to Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. He's the first real teacher. The first real teacher, right? First is Yahweh and then is Yahushai. Let's get Revelations 22:1. Revelations 22:1. And he showed me a pure river of water of life, clear as crystal, proceeding out of the throne of the Most High and of the Lamb. The pure river represents the pure doctrine, wisdom, eternal truth from the Most High and Yahweh Shai. And what is it doing? Proceeding out of the throne of the Most High and of the Lamb. Like, what do they say? Prayers go up and blessings come down. The Lord is just pouring out this wisdom and knowledge, this pure doctrine unto the elect, men, women, and children. How do you think the men of the Lord is teaching? Right? That the angels that know the men that fear him, they're encamping over you and they're being ministering spirits. Right? The angels are ministering through the spirit. What did they do to Mary? They went to Mary and said, "Hey, you're gonna birth Yahweh Shai. I mean, you're gonna birth the Son of Man. You're gonna call him Yahweh Shai." Guess what? The Spirit was dealing with her. Yahweh was dealing with her. Right when Mary got around Elizabeth and started speaking, John the Baptist started jumping in the belly, because that spirit, the Spirit of the Lord knows the Spirit. Well, why I say the spirit of the prophet shall be subject to the prophet, right? What do the one brother say? Real recognize real. The spirit recognize the righteous. What did that woman that was filled with a demon in her? When we talk about Sakiva, the children of Sakiva. Sakiva. Let me see if it pop up. It's in the book of Acts. So Acts chapter 19, verse 14. So here we go. Acts 19:14. And there were 7 sons of one Sceva, a Jew, and chief of the priests, which did so. And the evil spirit answered and said, Yahushai I know, and Paul I know, but who are ye? Right? Because these same ones, what was they doing? So that from his body were brought into the sick handkerchiefs or aprons, and the diseases departed from them, and the evil spirit went. Wait, actually, Salaki, let me go. Yeah, let me keep going. It says, then certain of the vagabond Jews, exorcists, took upon them to call over them which had evil spirits in the name of the Lord Yahushai, saying, we adjourn you by Yahushai, whom Paul preacheth. And there were 7 sons of one Sceva, a Jew, and the chief of the priests, which did so. And the evil spirit answered and said, Yahushai I know, and Paul I know, but who are ye? Right? That spirit knew Paul, and this was an evil spirit. This shows you that the left side of the Lord knows the just. The left side know Yahushai. The left side know who is the men of the Lord. That even the left side know who is not the men of the Lord. It said, and the man in whom the evil spirit was leaped on them and overcame them and prevailed against them, so that they fled out of that house naked and wounded. So even these false teachers that's out here, you know what? An evil spirit is in them. If they coming against the right teachers, they speak about them all that. Guess what? Is an evil spirit in them, and they know. Even the evil spirit within them know who the men of the Lord is. Right. So going back to what we was starting with, right? Being taught over again, knowing that you have to come in this thing in a house of learning, then showing you this thing is based and started with faith. Abraham was the forefather of the children of Israel. Faith. Yes, he was doing the law, but who's going to save you? Yahweh Shai. The law ain't saving you. Guess what? The law is given. You have to apply it. Yahweh Shai is a man created, actually a God created, right? He is a power created. That power can do way more than what the law can do, right? In order to do the law or to know the law, you have to be taught it. Yahweh Shai can teach the law. Yahweh Shai can put you to hell. Yahweh Shai can put you to death. You know, Yahweh Shai is the one answering your prayers, not the law. So going back to the basics is understanding you must have faith in this thing. Have faith that you have to read. Have faith that you have to be taught again. Have faith that you have to be an Israelite inwardly. Because the outside appearance, fringes all day, fringes on the shirt, right? That's not going to save you. Yahweh Shai is who's going to save us. So we want to have faith in him and let the spirit of Yahweh Shem Shai move you to doing things that's pleasing to Yahweh Shem Shai. You know? So Lord willing, this was edifying to the sheep. Lord willing, you were edified, and this was straight to the point. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Ba'ashem Shai, Ba'ashem Kakodash, and double honors to the elder apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who rule well and teach well through the Spirit, and a mighty shalom to the hopeful elect in the same Spirit. Shalom to the Akwat Yom. Lord willing that you all continue to endure and be sincere in sound doctrine and in the same Spirit. And shalom to the other brothers and sisters that's coming in the faith, and Lord willing, the Most High have mercy on the other brothers and sisters that's not in the faith. And with that, I'm going to say shalom, abba.